Welcome to the Craftessa, everyone. If you are new, my name is Vanessa. On today's DIY video, we're going to take the plastic clear Dollar Tree ornaments and we're going to turn them into vintage pieces. Make sure to follow me on Instagram and Facebook where I post super quick and easy DIYs, and subscribe to my YouTube channel where I post new videos every week. Now let's get on with today's craft. So for this project, I'm going to take the plastic ornaments from the Dollar Tree. They're plastic and they're a pretty nice size, and pretty sturdy and perfect for crafting. So I'm going to paint them with the Americana Decor chalk paint in a lace color. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of the sponge brushes from the Dollar Tree to give them at least 2 coats of paint. And between each coat, I'm going to let it dry. So let's continue with that part. So I want one of my ornaments to be pink since I'm going to set up a pink Christmas tree. So I'm going to take this craft barrel pink, it's like a bubble gum pink, and I'm going to mix it with the white chalk paint because this pink is a little darker than I wanted, and I don't have the correct pink that I want in my paint stash. So I'm going to mix these two together to make a lighter pink. And I'm going to use the same technique with the sponge brush as I painted the first two and do this one. So let's finish this pink ornament. So now that the ornaments are drying, I printed some images that I found online. You can do a search for vintage free clip art and you will come up with many different options. So I'm going to cut these and I'm going to Mod Podge them onto the ornaments. Now I'm going to cut them down to size. I kind of eyeballed the size when I was printing them out. So I'm going to make sure that I make them fit properly onto the ornaments. So let's finish cutting these up. So now that I finished cutting the images, I'm going to start to place them on the ornaments. I want to make sure that they're perfectly centered, and I'm going to lay them down and then add Mod Podge. Now the reason I make slits into the image is so when I am Mod Podging them to avoid wrinkles. I don't want to see any wrinkles in my image. And when the Mod Podge goes over the cuts, it basically seals the image on the ornament. You might see a reflection of the cut, but I like it the way it looks because it gives it sort of a crackle appearance, making it seem like the ornaments are pretty old. And that's the look that I'm trying to achieve. So let's continue with all the images on the ornaments. So now while the Mod Podge dries, I'm going to take my DAS modeling clay to make the, I would say the frames for the pictures on the ornaments. I'm going to use my molds. All of these molds I've purchased off of Amazon. If you do a search for clay molds or even fondant molds, you'll get tons that come up. And the DAS clay is actually one of my favorites to work with. It's got a nice consistency and it's pretty easy to work with. And it dries fairly quickly. In a couple of hours, for the most part, it's usually dry. So I'm going to use some of these molds to try and form a frame. My molds aren't exactly frames, so I'm going to take pieces of the clay and I'm going to make some of these ornate scrolls and turn them into molds. So, I'm sorry, turn them into the frames. So let's continue with that part. So now that I'm finished with most of my castings, I'm going to start to adhere them to the ornaments. The clay is not fully dry yet, so I'm going to be very careful with it. The reason that I did not let it dry fully is because if I were to let the moldings dry fully while they're flat, it's going to be much harder to place them on the ornament. This way, if they're still a little damp, once they are drying, they will take the shape of the ornament, that roundness that's part of the ornament. Otherwise, if I let them dry flat, chance that they're going to break when I'm trying to put them on the ornament. So let's continue with that. So now I'm going to start with ornament number 2. I made some very small castings for this one because I want all of the frames on the ornaments to be different. So I didn't have a frame that was round or big enough to go over this image. So I took pieces of each of my scrolls and I made them small, and with these pieces I'm going to form a frame. And again, the clay is not fully dry, and that's the way I want to use it. This way it does take the shape of the ornament. So let's continue on with ornament number 2. So now that the ornaments are done, I'm going to take this metallic wax in vintage gold. It's by Art Alchemy. I love this product quite a bit. It goes on very nice and smooth, and it actually smells quite good. So I'm going to take this and I'm going to give the frames some light brushing to give it an aged vintage gold look. So let's continue with this part. So now the next step is I'm going to take some Mod Podge and some of the extra fine glitter. It's like an iridescent color. And I am going to give the ornaments a little shine or a little pop. I like all of my ornaments to have a little glittery effect to it. So let's continue with that. First thing I'm going to do, a layer of Mod Podge with glitter, and that is it. So let's finish this part. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some trimming to this ornament. I'm going to take some gold beading that I have, and I'm going to go around the ornament and layer the beads on the sides of the ornament. On the frame, I'm taking a couple little bit of rhinestones, not too many. It's one of those peel and stick rhinestones. And I'm going to just give the top of each of the frame corners like a little bling pop to it, just so it can give it a little sparkle. Let's continue with that part. Now that I've finished with the beading on the ornament, I'm going to take the same chalk paint in the lace color that I painted the ornament with, and I'm actually going to paint over these beads. I think they're a little too shiny to be looking vintage, so I'm going to mute that gold. So with a small brush, taking the same taking the same chalk paint, I'm going to paint the beads. So let's finish with this part. So I'm almost done giving the beads a more muted color, and then we are done. The other ornaments I left as is, so this is the more ornate one, and now we are done. Time for them to be displayed. I really love the way that these ornaments turned out, and not too difficult to do. So let me know what you think in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the little bell to get notified when I post new videos. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you all on my next DIY.